sort of unintentional mechanisms where you get hints of things that are going on that can be done programmatically. It's a little hard to explain, but you could certainly imagine a program that maybe whispers in your ear or gives you some sort of subliminal indication of something that that you can't quite put your finger on, but that could explain certain paranormal events.
Very interesting.
And you also mentioned the idea of the sorry to interrupt there, but
no problem.
The idea of the parallel realities. There is a perfect analog for that in the gaming world as well. A lot of these games will run on a particular server, and you're in your environment on your server. There's a whole different set of people playing the game on a different server with the same construct, the same scenery, and the same ogres and monsters and things like that. And theoretically, there's no reason why you couldn't effectively teleport to a different server. Programmatically, it's not hard to do to copy somebody's all the data that describes their character and the state of their character could be just moved right over to a different server. And if you were unaware that there was any other reality, you'd be pretty shocked at that. You'd be surprised that, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm surrounded by different people.
Yeah.
Well, you hear people describe scenarios like that, and maybe this is the kind of thing that happens.
Very interesting. Almost like, well, again, I guess that all the possibilities, so to speak, opens up if this were in fact a simulation that we are a part of in regards to that. We are obviously confined to certain types of laws as it is now. If we again talk a little bit about the Matrix, the idea there is that because of his ability to transcend some of the laws that are put upon the character, so to speak, he can do certain things that the other ones can't do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. Imagine, the concept of a UFO. A lot of people have seen UFOs. I've never seen one, but I don't discount the fact that other people have seen them.
Right.
So, what could account for that? One possibility is that it's part of a program. You could imagine if you were playing a video game, for example, the game itself could generate things that violated the laws of physics that the rest of the players were subject to.
Yeah.
And so when we see objects that move around the sky and seem to make turns that would violate what we know about aerodynamics or whatever, it could be a programmatic thing. It could be something that's generated programmatically. The perfect explanation for it. In fact, I think one of the problems with this idea is that it makes everything so possible. It's kind of hard to falsify.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, that would imply potentially then that there could be someone with access to the code, or how people that know how to manipulate reality, almost like sorcerers of this world, and they would have obviously certain abilities that the rest of us wouldn't have.
Exactly. Think about how in games, let's say somebody discovers a way to kind of hack the game. Maybe they found out how to steal money, or how to increase their the money that they have by a factor of 10 just through some hack. Well, the programmers of that game are going to have to fix that. They'll have to apply a patch, and the patch will go in unbeknownst to all the players, because you can put hot patches into these games. And the same thing could happen in our reality. We could be moving along at a certain point and discover nuclear energy and potentially destroy ourselves, and maybe the programmers put in some fail-safe mechanisms to keep that from happening. You could certainly imagine all kinds of possibilities that follow that patch-like model, but it does sort of imply that that the quote gods or whoever might be running the reality is an active participant in it, and they're watching over things, perhaps.
That was very interesting. I mean, let's say then that this is being run by a very powerful server, so to speak, potentially some kind of quantum computer or something like that. I mean, the questions that arise is, of course, okay, it's, as you say, someone watching over the server, maintaining it, or is this actually, out there? This, if you think about it, this potentially could actually be some kind of Noah's Ark. I've heard this theory before, by the way, but it's kind of a Noah's Ark experiment where a lot of people have uploaded their consciousness into a machine that actually has been, I don't know, sent into space or is, standing on some other planet because of that the conditions on our planet was, getting so hostile, or the planet was dying, or I don't know what. You can put in whatever you want there, but this would imply, that someone could find the server, destroy it, right? Have you thought about stuff like that?
Sure, yeah, no, and you touch upon, a really interesting aspect of this, which is motivation. What would be the motivation behind all of this? And boy, that's another thing that we could spend a lot of time talking about. But you provide a really good scenario. The Noah's Ark scenario is one very palatable motivation. Mm-hmm. But as far as the reliability of the hardware, if you will, I think that's something to sort of not worry about. And the reason I say that, I actually had somebody who heard me on another show sent an email to me and asked me the same question. Having worked in the past in the high availability server industry, I know that today we can generate servers with uptimes of, I think it's 0.9999969, and we can also build systems that have triple redundancy and voting logic, which means that you have 3 servers that are running the same software, and they're all monitoring each other. And if at any point 2 of them determine that one of them is out of step, they raise an alarm and kick it out effectively. Mm. So if you use that kind of redundancy with the high availability mechanisms of servers, it turns out that we would have a mean time between failure of millions of years with today's technology.
Mm. But that still implies that, power is available. Someone is there, looking over things. I'm talking about, I guess, a little bit about the scenario that this is standing there by itself and running, so to speak, and everyone has, uploaded themselves into it. I don't know. Is that
Sure.
possible, you think?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a possibility. I think it would be very interesting to get into also some of the evidence for the actual programmed model, as opposed to some of the evidence that there's something else out there that we've been talking about too. Mm-hmm. So if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit about the quantum mechanics aspect of this, which
definitely
I find that one to be really very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. For any listeners who might not be that familiar with quantum mechanics, one of the kind of fundamental concepts of it is that everything that we perceive is quantized. It's in little packets. Light is packets of energy, and matter is packets. And even space itself is quantized at some point. And so most quantum physicists think that, when you look around a room, you see things, and it's easy to tell that there's sort of a continuity of matter, of stuff, and of space between those things. If you were to look through a microscope, you would see there's a continuity there. And as deep as we can look into, we can now see actual molecules with scanning microscopes. But even at that point, all we see is, a continuity of things. Well, when you get down to 10 to the minus 36 meters, you hit what's called the Planck length, which theoretically is the limit of resolution of space. And that basically says that at that point, you can't even define anything between 2 Planck lengths. It's either there or it's at the next one. There's nothing in between.
Okay.
Well, what works that way? Everything in a computer program works the same way. The screen that you're looking at looks fairly continuous until you look at it close up and you see the actual pixels and the